Hello everybody and welcome back. Today I want to teach you a very powerful technique that you can use on every single one of your pictures to spice up your edit and hopefully bring your images to the next level. Let's not waste any more time and let's jump right into Lightroom. Alright, so here we are into Lightroom. This is the image that I selected for today. I'm gonna quickly apply a preset here just that we can start with all the basic adjustments and the colors already dialed in so that we don't have to care about that part. Today I want to really focus on the masking, so let's open the palette here on the right side. But before we start with the editing, I just want to quickly walk you through my thinking process here and what I want to achieve with this edit. I want to help the subject to stand out a little more from all the nature behind it, and also there are a lot of distracting things on the bottom part here, a lot of stuff that are cut out on the edges that are not really pleasing, so we're gonna use the masks here to basically get rid of all of these distractions and really focus the viewer eye on the subject. So how do we do that? I would say let's start first of all with the linear gradient here that we're gonna drag from the bottom up like this with a big nice feather. And what we're gonna do here is simply drag down the exposure, the contrast, the highlight by a fair amount. Shadows, don't go too crazy with that one, otherwise the black will look too dark. The whites as well. We're not gonna touch the blacks because this part now is already pretty dark. All right, that's already looking pretty good. One thing that I usually do when I darken a part of the image down is to also adjust the saturation accordingly, because when you darken something out, it also gains a little bit of saturation. We want to counteract that because the goal is, again, to make this part of the image as dull as possible. So that's looking good. I think we can go even crazier than that, probably like a bit more. Yeah, let's bring the whites a bit down. Even the exposure I think can be even decreased even further. All right, so that's our first mask, and let's quickly have a look at the before and after. Yeah, that's already making a big difference. As you can see now, all of the distractions, all of the leaves that were on the ground are not as bright anymore, so they don't mess with the composition. So what's next? Again, we want to convey the attention of the viewer towards our subject. And as you can see, this image is already compositionally correct because we have all of these leading lines that are kind of going into our subject here. Even the foliage of these plants, it's clearly going towards our subject, but we can help that with the light even more. So if we are gonna darken this part out and this part here, you will see that the eye then will clearly go into our subject. So again, we take another mask. This time let's go for a radial gradient. The thing is, you wanna try to follow the natural edges of your image to darken it, because that will help the adjustment feel more natural. You should not go too crazy with the adjustments. Don't darken stuff out like this because yeah, that's clearly fake. So let's do it, but by being careful. All right, I think that's looking pretty good. And let's remember to follow the edges here. Let's do the same thing on the other side. You can actually do that if you want. You could add simply another mask by hitting this button here, but I prefer to do this with a radial gradient, with a separate one, so that yeah, basically I have more control over what I'm doing, especially because this part on the left is much darker already. So here I don't think I want to reduce the shadows because they are already pretty dark, but let's go down with the highlights and whites, maybe the overall exposure as well. Yes, all right, that's looking good. And let's see the before and after. Yeah, as you can see, that made already a pretty big difference. think this foliage here can be reduced even more. So let's create a new radial gradient that's gonna be influencing only this part here, and let's dial it down just a touch. All right, that's looking pretty good to me. Okay, yeah, now instead of darkening things, let's make our subject stand out a little more by raising the exposure of it. So let's do select subject. This time I don't want to use the exposure slider, because as you can see, the exposure slider increases the brightness of the area that is selected in an even way. We don't want that because our subject is clearly lit from the top. So the legs should not be as bright as the head and the shoulders that are hit by the sun directly. So I'm gonna use here the white slider so that we have a more natural adjustment. As you can see now, the parts that were already brighter became even brighter, and the parts that are in the shadow, they stayed in the shadow. All right, that's looking pretty good. Now, one more thing that I would do here is to create a radial gradient right in the middle here to help the light go straight into our subject, because as you can see here in the middle part is a little darker than the top part, and the subject is brighter than this part, and that doesn't make too much sense, because the light, if it comes from above, you should see the light decay all the way down onto the subject. So we are gonna increase the exposure here right in the middle to make this look more natural. That's looking pretty good. And one more thing that I'd like to do is to also increase the color contrast by raising the temperature here to a more yellowy look, so that the plants that are hit by the sun have a little more yellow in them, and those that are in the dark, they're a little more bluish. All right, I'll do probably the same thing here as well, just a touch, and I think we can stop here. Let's have a look at the before and after. So this is where we started and this is where we ended up. I think we can all agree that there is a big difference, that the subject now stands out quite good in our picture, and yeah, it overall looks much better. All right, so this is a super powerful technique that I think you can use on every single one of your pictures, and they will all greatly benefit from this treatment. You just need to understand how to use these masks so that they make sense into your picture and that they are not thrown where they don't make sense at all, and especially that you don't go too hard with the darkening, because it can quickly become too fake. So be careful with that, but please do experiment. All right, that's it guys for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave it a thumbs up if you liked it, and I guess I'll see you in the next one.